Mary Hanson here. Karen Malak.
Here.
Victoria Newport. Here. Rick Smith.
Here.
Howard Solomon.
Here.
All right. Pledge of allegiance, please. And we have Sandy and Amanda Pastor who is going to help us tonight by leading us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. Acceptance of gifts and donations. That the Board of Education accept with gratitude the donation of inventatory durable medical equipment supplies to the DeKalb High School from Midwest Orthopedic Institute, valued at approximately $3,500. The donation of a 1995 Toyota Avalon to the large engines class of the DeKalb High School by Tammy Tuel, and the donation of $18,065.94 in grants from the DeKalb Education Foundation. Do I have a motion? So moved.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Mary Hess.
Yes.
Karen Malak.
Yes.
Victoria Newport.
Yes.
Rick Smith.
Yes.
Howard Solomon.
Yes.
Vicki Brennan Favor.
Yes. Okay. And thank you to the DeKalb Education Foundation for the very, very generous donation, and also to the MOI for the donation of the equipment to DeKalb High School Athletics. Next, we have public comment. Members of the public who wish to speak to the board should complete a request card prior to the meeting. This section of the meeting will be reserved for comments from the public. All comments should be limited to 3 minutes. Criticism of individuals is not in order. Melissa, do we have any comment? Any comments? Okay, thank you. Next, we have board committee reports and correspondence. Anybody have anything? No? All right. Presentations. Project Black Bear update, Ms. Andrea Gorla, and this is an informational item.
Correct. So last month, we presented to you a resolution for Black Bear, which was the code name of the company that now has been revealed to be 3M, and for consideration of a 10-year tax abatement. Now that 3M has come forward, there is actually reconsideration for them to enter under our existing IGA agreement for a 5-year tax abatement. And so Paul Worth is here this evening to discuss the facts with you about the program, about actually 3M.
Thank you, Andrea. Yes, as Andrea indicated, the identity of Project Black Bear is 3M. The project was necessarily confidential until discussions and direction was established, and then employees were notified of the potential. Subject to the approval of the property tax agreement, 3M is prepared to commission a major expansion of their Park 88 campus in DeKalb. It would include a 987,000 square foot building on 56 acres that we had previously discussed. The building will contain increased ceiling height of 36 to 38 feet, providing significant increase in capacity for 3M's global distribution operations. The investment would be a minimum of $40 million, as we've discussed previously. The building would generate approximately $1.2 million per year in new tax revenues each year when the incentives expire in year 6. And based on the 90-80-50-50-50 agreement, it will generate new revenue immediately in year 1, and I have those estimates for the school district here. And this is based on a market value of $29,600,000 in consultation with the DeKalb Township assessor for a an equalized assessed valuation of 1/3, approximately $10 million. 250 workers will be employed at this site. 3M will commit to this operation for a minimum of 10 years. That's their lease arrangement with the builder. And this additional 1 million square feet adjacent to 3M's other facilities in Park 88 would make this the largest 3M campus in the world outside of their headquarters in St. Paul. Over a 10-year period, including the tax abatement, the DeKalb School District would generate an additional $5.5 million in revenue. When the building is completed, 3M will move from their existing 300,000 and 200,000 square foot buildings on Barber Green Road and Worthing Drive. This would amount to a net increase of occupancy of approximately 500,000 square feet. Both the existing buildings will remain on the tax rolls and enable the owners and DCEDC and the brokerage community to attract new industries. We're not a speculative market. We don't have many available buildings. Our location and our amount of activity isn't sufficient to warrant or generate speculative investment in new buildings. And this is how an economy and a community like DeKalb County can grow by companies expanding and growing and making newer or recently rehabbed buildings available for reoccupancy and releasing. Each year we experience a dozen or more requirements for companies looking for existing space, ranging from 100,000 to 500,000 square feet. So it can be anticipated that the spaces will be purchased or leased and generate additional employment. Relative to the District 428, in year one it will generate an estimate of $81,000 per in year one, $163,000 in year two, $408,000 in year 5, 6, and 7, in year 3, 4, and 5, and $816,000 in today's dollars each year for the remaining period, or in perpetuity as long as the building's in operation. But for the 10-year period, it will generate $8 million for all taxing bodies and $5.5 million for the school district. And the value of the abatement for all taxing bodies remains capped at $4 million.
Any questions for Paul?
To qualify for the abatement, there's some language in there about job creation, correct?
Yes.
So is this, by moving employees from one facility to another, how does that fall in line with what's required in the abatement?
The intergovernmental agreement requires job creation at the site of the new building and maintenance of those jobs for the period of the abatement period. And 3M will create or occupy the new building with 250 jobs, at a minimum of 250 jobs.
Are those required to be new jobs? Or does it specify in the intergovernmental agreement what that is? I don't recall.
Yeah, I think it's a far lesser amount in the existing IGA
Okay.
than the one that we talked about in the enterprise zone moving forward.
Okay.
Yeah, I believe that's probably part of the reason that it moved to the existing IGA versus a separate 10-year abatement.
Okay. Thank you.
Go ahead, Gary.
So I'd like to understand better the number of new jobs. When you and Mr. Good presented to us last time, and personally I thought it was going to be new construction and 250 new jobs. Now, from the backup material and from what I read in the newspapers, is it going to be 250 new jobs or 10 new jobs?
The new building will provide 250 jobs. And 3M has not yet determined the amount of new job creation that might occur within all of their campuses, but they will provide 250 jobs at this facility. And they may generate new jobs, but they haven't determined it as yet. They envision this building to operate as a campus with the other two buildings on Fairview and Maytown, and it will increase opportunities and occupancy, throughput, and productivity at the facility, making it more valuable to the company and the community. They really will be strengthening their commitment to DeKalb County by investing in a new building, as opposed to making this investment in another state and something.
Is it true that by going with the 2010 IGA intergovernmental agreement, that they could transfer the employment at a former location to this location as long as they just added 10 more jobs? And that would satisfy the requirements of that 2010 IGA? Would that be the case?
Yeah, I think it's 20.
20 new jobs?
Yeah.
I was thinking 10, okay, 20. So they could transfer those employees and then hire 20 new employees. And another question, Andrew, maybe for you, I don't know if Mr. Bork can speak to this or not, but new construction versus an expansion, as far as the EVA and the rules or law, we capture all new construction, right? But we don't necessarily, do we, when there's a modification, an expansion, or remodeling? You know?
Yeah, I would have to take a look at that, because for some of the businesses, it is reevaluated again or reassessed when they're doing an expansion. But this is a whole new building, right? They're vacating a building and they're adding in a whole new structure to an existing site.
Adjacent to existing operations.
Right.
Okay, so
Maybe
This is a
it's
building.
not an add-on to an existing structure. It is a new structure.
This is a new
It is a new structure.
So it would be considered new construction then by the authorities that have jurisdiction on that? Okay.
In fact, we even talked with legal counsel to make certain we're prepared when it comes on. That is when we do a tax levy, then we need to inflate that to make certain we capture all of the property. So yes.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
And so for real quick, because we do have some new board members, the existing IGA expires at the end of December 2015. So we will have another opportunity to address all, everything that's incorporated into here at another time. And I believe we talked about this at FFAC, and it will be up to you if you would like to assign that project to FFAC or if we discuss it here with the full board. Right, exactly. I'm sorry, that's right. The enterprise zone is also out there, and if that does get approved, that agreement has already been set, and then we work under the enterprise zone, because all of this property would fall under that.
And the enterprise zone starts January 1, 2016, correct?
2016.
I believe so.
Do you have an update of when we would know?
The applications are being scored by the Illinois Department of Commerce and Economic Opportunity. They're presented to a 5-member review board through the summer, and boards to make decisions regarding enterprise zone allocations after September 30th.
Any other questions?
Yeah, maybe Mr. Bork, can you fill me in on the rationale for why they switched? I mean, we approved the abatement for the previous set of parameters, and now they're wanting to go with the old, with the 2010, which, as Andrew just said, expires fairly soon. Aside from being able to shift their employee base over to this new building under the old agreement, is there some great reason why they want to do it this way?
I don't think that was the primary reason. I think the primary reason was based on the assessed valuation and the terms of the abatement agreement, they're likely to, they could reach $4 million, as we discussed previously, in year 5 or 6. So it's pretty close. And under the intergovernmental agreement, we have relationships and understandings with all the taxing bodies that could accelerate the approvals and enable them to get in the ground faster. They need to begin earthwork in July, construction in August, so that they can open in August of 2016.
So you would say that their willing or their desire to construct overrides their risk for what might happen in a new round of negotiations?
Right. Well, timing is of the essence. This facility was slated for Georgia, and a great deal of effort was put into convincing them and to build it in DeKalb. And speed of construction, or getting in the ground as soon as possible, was critical because you can build in the winter in Georgia and you can't here. So a lot of things need to be done by December.
But you called this a global distribution logistics warehouse or something to that effect. Right? It's truly global. This is the largest outside of their facility up in St. Paul. Does our area have an advantage logistically in terms of infrastructure, transportation, and so on as compared to Georgia, if you're talking about a global business?
That's a good question. It does in many senses, as evidenced by their historical commitment here. However, recent logistics analyses that they undertook with specialists indicated that they needed to disperse some of their distribution because of their placement of clients and customers and sources of material, manufacturers. And they recently, just last year, they opened a new distribution center in Ontario, California. And they were advised by their logistics consultants to set up a facility in Atlanta. They're moving along that track until we make this compelling.
Thanks for doing
that. I have to credit also the developer, Mark Good, Venture One Real Estate Park 88, who was here last month or 2 months ago. Last month.
Great win for the community, that's for sure.
Well, when I considered your presentation last time around, we are in a good place logistically, it seems to me. Certainly Rochelle has understood that with the rail port and any number of other things they've been able to do on Sharia and so on, bring in. With I-39, I-88, I-80, we are centrally located to our country at least. And whether or not that is the case with the globe, I'm not so sure. But I think this area is a fantastic location for people to distribute from. So thank you for your work.
You're welcome. Thank you. Thank you for consideration.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
All right. Next up is the push coin food service and credit card payment processing. Andrea, and again, sorry, this is an information.
Right. So our current situation with our existing vendors and just the current configuration overall has been causing us some issues. And number one, just logistically, not every school has really a cafeteria. It's a gym, then converted into a cafeteria during lunch period. And that being said, when we need to set up our computers and everything to process all the students as they're coming through, we may have problems at times where the placement of that cash register has to be or computer because it has to be plugged in, and so you have wiring issues and all of that. So this current configuration with this new vendor that we are considering, actually we would not have to do that because everything is wireless. And there's also issues that we currently are up against with connectivity issues. So when our system goes down, as you're processing 200 students to go through a lunch line within a very short period of time, when that computer goes down or our system goes down, we have to break out paper and manually process all the students. So as the students are coming through the line, hopefully we're taking all the accurate information to do a count, because every meal that we serve, the district then receives money from the government, as well as from our families, of course. But those subsidies and an accurate count is extremely important. And so that has become a major issue for us as well. There are a lot of students moving through those lines. And so as we've been looking out there for other ideas and ways to streamline and find those efficiencies and make certain that we are doing an accurate count, Pushcoin actually has come to the forefront. And at a Fox Valley meeting when all business officials are together, actually Anna, the owner, who is in the audience, and her husband, and I hope I pronounced his name right, Slawomir?
Yes,
Slawomir?
yes.
Slawomir?
Slawomir.
Okay, I broke it down, so. But these two individuals we have met with, they introduced their product at Geneva School District, which there was a group of us who actually went on a site visit to see it in action as all the kids are coming through lunch and how it's being processed. Our tech folks had an opportunity to meet with their technical staff as well to talk about all the nuances and things that they need to be concerned with. And me and a group of other folks met with the food service people to have an opportunity to discuss with them the ease of the software. And then Anna, actually, when we met together at lunchtime, was showing me through her cell phone the app that a parent can have on their cell phone and all the information they could access. So with that, we'll just quickly go through, and I'm going to tag team this with Cindy. Some of the things that we have been looking at and considering. So first of all, we identified the need for change. And again, our current situation is we have a separate system that processes payments for credit cards. And right now, our district pays all those fees. We have a credit card fee and we have a transaction fee. So for anyone making any payments, we are charged a fee. And we'll go through what that means as far as how much the district is paying. With Pushcoin currently, a way to avoid any of the fees is to use an e-check. So one thing we also wanted you to consider is on a go-forward basis, because we know where our budget constraints are, and that we're looking at these deficit budgets. Is this an expense that we would like to push onto the parent who is being the end user and using a credit card? Do we want to share that expense, meaning put some of that expense on them and the district share into part of that expense? Or do we continue as we do? And again, remember, a way to avoid any of those fees is also to encourage families to use e-check, and then there's no charge to anyone. And we'll go through that process again later in the presentation. Then another thing we have looked at is multiple sites for parents to fund and track purchases and to view balance information. And then currently our situation with the delay of payments. So if you make a credit card payment online, or if you come in and you drop money off, paid by check or actually pay in cash, there is a delay of when that actually gets posted to a student's account. It's not an immediate process. And then additional funding options for parents and flexibility we were looking at. So the new system with Pushcoin is a web-based system, high level of security, innovative philosophy, and a comprehensive solution. And I know this print is little, but let me just highlight for you some of the things that actually we were looking at. And that the e-check thing, actually RefTrack will be introducing an e-check as well, and that's what we currently have. But that won't be coming forward until I believe August. But then we also were looking at a mobile and user-friendly website, which Pushcoin has, a mobile POS system, which is a point of service, future systems that have enhancements and patches included and are automatically delivered. Again, one issue that we're having with our existing vendor is if you want to make any modifications, it could take a year or two. Typically what has to happen is A great number of the users have to put that request in before it's even taken a look, it's looked at, and then they may make modifications to the program or not. And that's been a problem that we've been having is some of the issues that we need to address, we've been sitting and waiting and will probably not get addressed. And then parents transferring money between accounts. Right now, under our current system, we have our system set up as a shared family account, and you had to make that decision as you were stepping into the software. So another issue that happens is if your high schooler eats first, they potentially could eat up all that money and use up all that money in the student's account, and then by the time your middle school kid gets opportunity to eat or not, because perhaps the sibling used up all the money. That's just what happens. And by the time your poor little elementary student gets to lunch, there's no money left in their account. So those are some situations where we've been up against. With PushPoint, you could actually move money between the students' accounts or put money specifically, a specific dollar amount to your high school account, to your middle school child's account, and to your elementary student's account. And you can view all those account balances on your phone app, so you're able to see all of that immediately. And you also get alerts on your cell phone of what your student has chosen to eat or not eat, or however you would like to look at that. And then as far as even having, and this is something actually we've already done, is try to introduce a breakfast cart outside. So the portability of these devices into process is extremely important because, like I said, we need an accurate account of every child who is eating. So this software would allow for that to happen with relative ease. And it's just basically a nice screen that you could walk around any place in the cafeteria and process the student or outside or wherever you happen to choose to feed the students.
The benefits of PushCoin basically, and we'll go through some of the details on the numbers on the last slide, but there is no annual fee. They do offer the electronic funding option that is free for parents, as well as for us. That is not no cost to us as well. There are reduced credit card transaction fees. Right now, we pay RevTrack 3.4% plus 35 cents per transaction for credit card processing. And with PushCoin, it's 2.79% and 25 cents per transaction. So even if we don't have the parents pay any of those transaction fees, it is less that we would have to pay. Also, the equipment they provide is also part of, is free. Basically, they provide all the equipment, the training, anything we need to get going, which also includes thumb scanners, which we are looking at doing. It would be biometrics, and kids have to put their thumb or index finger, whichever finger works well. And that has really been an issue with at the elementary, getting these kids through those lines quickly, especially at the beginning of the year. You've got a little kindergartner, and they have to know their PIN number, and it just really slows things down. So this would be just a thumb scan, and they're going right through it much more faster and much more accurately. More, again, how Andrea, or what Andrea mentioned, there's more options for the parents for payment, for reporting. I mean, the information they get is instant, it's instantaneous. Right now, everything in our current system, you have to batch it and post it. There's just a delay. This is just instant access to information. And a lot more communication with parents. They'll know when their accounts are low. They'll get text messages if they'd like. They'll get emails, whichever way they want to get that information. So they can have enough money on their kids' accounts so that kids are getting a full lunch rather than just we always see kids, we don't want kids so hungry. So like, there's a cheese sandwich option or jelly, but we want to make sure these kids get a full meal. And it's easy to use. I mean, everybody's got, their phone. I mean, even probably the kids just look at what's going on as well. So. And you can also part of this is the actual way that it's set up. The touch screen is a lot easier for the cashiers to work. I mean, right now sometimes they have to go through different layers, and it's a little more difficult, and that takes time. So this is much easier if you've got a reversible meal, you've got and it's just a lot easier, the actual screen display and then the touch transactions as well. Our plan is to roll this out in the next school year, this coming up school year. It's really just a matter of uploading all the student records into that system. And then probably the most, I would say difficult, but the thing that might take a little time is getting everybody's finger scanned so we could recognize that scan print. And our thought would be to do that with the one-to-one integration device rollout because there's going to be meetings and then those students can come and get pre-scanned basically instead of trying to do it that first day of school and getting them through because sometimes it takes a while for that. Not a while, but I think it's pretty fast, but sometimes it takes a while for it to read that thumb and to recognize it. So to do that prior to the first day of lunch makes it a little bit easier and a little more seamless. And there's also other options, just not thumb scanning. You know, they do have PIN numbers. They've got other options as well. So if you have a parent that's concerned with that biometric system, there's an alternative, and they can still go and look up the student's name and do it that way too. So there is an alternative to the thumb scanning. That we would train the cafeteria staff, which would be the Chartwell's people as well as our own people. And then, again, I mentioned the notification to parents and then to coincide it with the one-to-one device rollout would be the plan. Now, in terms of the numbers, and this is data, we looked at our credit card transactions and what we currently pay for our food service module, I guess you can call it, with our current software. So what we currently pay is $10,316 annual with for our food service software. The credit card fees was $13,770. So we're currently spending about $24,000 a year on the food service within processing the credit card transactions. And additionally, down at the bottom, you'll see that we pay for equipment as well. You know, the cash registers, the screens, whatever they're using for to process those kids coming through. About $14,400 for all, throughout the whole district. What we're proposing to do is what PushCoin does charge is a transaction fee for each transaction. It's either 10 cents maximum or 1.5% per transaction. So we looked at our transactions from July through April, real data, and basically put those costs with it and came up with, you're comparing the $10,316 to their transaction fees, it's $8,054, so that is less. The credit card transaction fee is less as well, with the $279 and the $25 per transaction. So we're kind of comparing the current cost of about $24,000 with the proposed cost of about $19,000, $18,954. So right off the bat, it's less cost. If we have options below that, if we were to shift that credit card fee to the parent, then our cost would be more like $8,000. And if we split that cost, it would be about $12,000. So what we're looking at is, we would phrase this down on the food service side, and the more transactions, the higher the cost of PushCoins would be. But I think what we're hoping will happen, and we feel pretty confident that would be really cost neutral once we get down to the bottom line and really start using this more frequently. And just having the efficiencies and the accurate counts, and then just the action for parents, I think we see it as a benefit.
So we would like to bring this back in July for approval, but I guess a couple considerations at this point would be, is there an interest in splitting those fees out? Should we continue to absorb all these fees? Or whatever your desire might be, someplace in between there?
For families that are on free or reduced hot lunch, the fees are a non-issue, right?
Right.
Okay.
Right. Yeah. This is only for paid for families. So anytime you access using a credit card, the district absorbs all these fees. But there is an option that we can split those out, and some districts are moving in that direction. And I will tell you that another observation has been, why don't you just increase the cost of it and just bake it in the total cost? Well, because there's e-check that you could use for no charge, you want to encourage then families to move toward that direction. So by us picking up the whole thing or just lifting the cost, really isn't going to encourage people to move into that. And then just so people really can see a clear delineation of how much things are costing, we just chose to make certain that that would be a separate amount that you're aware of what the district is absorbing.
Excuse me, with the e-check is that every month that's gonna be taken out? I mean, is that?
Whenever you want it, you initiate
Oh,
it.
so I'm not
No,
setting
it's
up
not
that.
like, I don't know, do they have an automatic option if someone wanted to do that, like just do more?
Yes, there's an option, to do that. However, the system is so user-friendly that you just do it on the go.
Yeah, you can just basically pull out your phone and say, oh, gee, you know, you can put $10 on this account today. And it's not, it'll be instant. I mean, it'll be like, if you do it at 10 in the morning and they're getting lunch at 10:30, that money's gonna be there.
Yes.
With the different proposals for the transactions, would that show up, like if I'm a parent, you know, making a payment and it would, you know, if I want to put $25 on my child's lunch account, would it say then on top of that, you have this processing fee?
Yes, and you have an option of continuing or just canceling and choosing an electronic check.
Okay, so parents would be able to
Yes,
see
they will
that.
see that and they can always go back and choose a different funding option.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Will children or parents or strangers have the option of using cash?
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. There will be, it's really up to the school. I mean, we also provide cash drawers. I believe the school has already some cash drawers, so we can reuse them, but yes.
We right now only accept cash at the high school in one area, and that has been a dilemma for us because of the restrictions on our reporting requirements with our existing software. That we need to be able to track exactly what cashier is there and who's doing that transaction. So some of those lockdown things have been what has restricted us from opening that up wider. Because and here's another thing, we've said when we do that, we want to give change back to the student to encourage them that if they want to buy something, they know they're going to get money back. Because a lot of students may have their own money and just choose to purchase something. Some other districts actually, when they do a cash transaction, they don't give change back to the students. The remaining of the money goes on the account. And actually, we think that it ends up being a discouraging event for a student to ever purchase again then from us. So we want to be able to offer that right now. That is why we haven't opened it up any further. So for your question, Helen, we only have one cash drawer right now at our high school. We had a goal that we wanted to open that up to more lanes and then also to the middle school students. We just haven't been able to do that because we're not comfortable with the checks and balances right now.
With respect to biometrics, I don't think we're using biometrics anywhere in the district, are we?
Not at this point.
Okay, so with all of the things that we've been reading in the news about the Office of Policy Management and our CIA agents' information, hacked by China, things like that, right? These are kids. Where does the district stand with respect to liability? Who will be storing the data on the biometrics? Whose responsibility and how will the protection work?
Yes, actually, I can help that. So you're right. What happened is in Illinois, actually, there was a new regulation that passed regarding privacy in general. So biometric information is one of that, student biometric information, but also even personal information, like names and age. And if you're on a national school lunch program, even that information is sort of very private. So all that is under one umbrella of student information. And there's strict regulations how this data is stored and how it's encrypted and how it can be only authorized personnel can access it. So for example, with our system, only school personnel that has certain security token, which is a hardware key, have to be plugged in, and then everything is decrypted at that moment. So all those provisions are in place for that. And again, parents have the option to opt out from the biometrics. Just to give you some information, like from local communities, District 3 or 4 has rolled it out with biometrics, and out of 6,000 students, they have 10 students how many families, I think 6 families who opted out from biometrics. Because of the popularity of iPhones, the thumb scan has become more and more commodity, for better or worse, but it is something that we stopped paying that much attention to. What we do also on our end is if the student stops buying lunch with his thumb scan, after 120 days, it's removed completely. So even if the student is still enrolled with the school, the thumb scan information is expires. So after 120 days, if the student goes to the line, puts the thumb, it will say not found, which is actually good because what happens then, when he buys another time, he's re-enrolled automatically because the system is automatically keeping up and learning that way. But you don't have to remember to delete student information. You have to remember, okay, I want to purge periodically, every year, thumb scan information. So the system does it automatically.
So does the system server reside somewhere? Can you?
Yeah, we actually use a government certified facility. It's in North Carolina, but the servers themselves are managed by Amazon. It's an Amazon cloud. Another cloud is Microsoft Cloud, and to hedge ourselves, we may actually have in 2 locations, just in case we need for better availability of the system. So we may use Microsoft and Amazon Cloud at the same time, but right now we're just with Amazon Cloud. And they have all the regulations, and they have extensive information about what they're compliant with PCI, with credit card information, with student information, and with biometric information. They have to be compliant with all sorts of standards, and they're actually the most compliant of all cloud providers. That's why we're with them. They're not the least expensive, but they're the best right now.
So you would characterize the protection and security as good as you can get at this point?
Actually, I would say if you have a vendor who's storing servers on their own, in their own facilities, it's worse than with going with someone like Amazon. Right now, Amazon is top tier. It doesn't get any better.
And that sort of leads into another question. That is, I had trouble connecting this morning. I live out north of Malta, and with all the flooding, I had a little trouble getting on the internet this morning, right? What happens with our lunch service and all of that if our connection goes down?
Yeah, it's a very good question, actually. So,
Because we saw this in place, actually,
Right.
fiber was flagged, actually on site.
right, Geneva had an outage. Correct. Geneva actually, they had construction outside, and the bulldozer chopped their fiber network, and for 3 days they were offline. Now the system actually handles it. If there's no internet for that time, the terminals are self-sustained. They actually have power for about 8 hours, so you can be without power and without internet, and you can start, you can start lunch. And what's going to happen is eventually when the internet comes back, they will push that information, and then the reports and everything will be available. So yeah, it is built in redundancy like that.
That was one of the major selling points, because we have had just some issues, and probably too where we're located sometimes in some of the buildings, right in the middle, and processing that number of students, and when you see how the system moves, it becomes quite cumbersome. So when we did our site visit, we actually did the high school, we looked at a middle school and an elementary school. And the ease of processing these students and even looking up the information versus what we're currently under moves like at the speed of lightning. It was quite impressive.
I just have 2 quick questions. One is, I think that I heard you say improve the ease of use and increase efficiency. Do you anticipate being able to reduce labor in that area of food service then as a result of this new system?
Well, okay, so when you have food service, we have a contract right now, and when that contract was bid and has staffing built in. So those staff members are on Chartwell's side. Our cooks are on our side, so we only control the cook portion of it, they control the other parts of it. What is more important about staffing is really getting the accurate counts. And that's where we know.
As they go through.
Yes, we are deficient in that.
Okay, and then I noted that on your presentation, there was mention of equipment that was paid by the district. I assume that's been paid for, that's not a recurring annual cost.
Right.
And so is there any chance that equipment could be sold and some additional funds recouped?
Well,
No. As a matter of fact, a lot of that equipment ties into our VDI infrastructure, so our virtual desktop infrastructure that's at like DeKalb High School and stuff. So that could actually be used as like highly available equipment for switching out equipment as it goes bad at the high school again, which was the original purpose.
So the answer is no.
The answer is no.
But it can be repurposed.
It can be repurposed within the district.
Thank you.
Very good.
Could you tell us a little bit about the company? I'm kind of intrigued.
Well, we're husband and wife, actually. We live in Geneva, we've been there for 10 years, and we have 2 students that go to Geneva schools, and we've been using multiple systems that Geneva offered. One was to put money into the lunch account, and the other system was to look and see what the students were eating. And that was really a mess. I never checked what my kids were eating, and all friends would always say that they wanted to see exactly, because then they could plan meals, and if kids are eating too much fries, then, probably they should get veggies at night for dinner. So we designed this system to originally be working at Parks and Recreations, and we kind of developed a wristband where kids can go swim with it and eat and, buy things at concession stands and just have nothing on them, just the bracelet. And then a friend of ours told us about Whitney Academy, which is a prestigious private high school that's been using paper tickets. And she asked maybe if we could just tweak our system to fit their needs, and we did that. So Whitney Academy was the first private school, and that school has around 700 students. So they transitioned to Pushcoin. The next school district that adopted Pushcoin was Geneva 304. They piloted our product at their high school for about a month, and then later they decided to go with Pushcoin. We're also are working with Central School District. They just signed a contract with us, and they're rolling out Pushcoin at their 18 schools, and the number of students 13,000. We also signed a contract yesterday with Riverbend School District out of Fulton. Pushcoin is not only designed to work with lunches, but it also provides a web store. So schools who want to sell products online, like registration, they can use our site and just do the checkout with Pushcoin. So it's very user-friendly. And parents will finally see exactly what their kids are eating. And we do friendly spams. We send information every time a student goes through it. So hopefully that will close the gap between, what the kids are buying and what the parents want them.
So Pushcoin is a local small business?
It's a local small business, yes.
Great.
yes,
And Andrew?
which, after working with such a big company, and, there's good and bads to all, but one thing that we have had some great discussion with Pushcoin is about making some personal modifications to really suit your district. Because of course, like we know, every district has its own nuances. And the problem that we've had basically is, you get tied into these great software systems, and we do have a very robust system. But to make alterations or modifications as such could be extremely cumbersome, costly, or time consuming. And the attraction to this actually was because they are a smaller business, will be more attentive. They are close reach away from us. And of course, they strive to be successful because then everybody else around will see their product and experience that as well. So our hope is, as St. Charles is transitioning, that we would be able to jump on some of the training with them as well, so we can kind of move things at a more accelerated pace so that we would be ready for day one when school starts to start a rollout plan and do some communication in between all of that.
Are we good? It sounds great. I hope it's good. We'll see.
It's
But
extremely
um,
exciting.
Janica has been on it for a year, we've been having it for 3 years. Don't think we're just like newbies, we have a lot of experience in designing, very complicated, platforms, computer platforms.
Do we have a consent then to bring this back at the next meeting?
Yes.
Everybody in agreement?
I guess one more. Andrea, do we have a need to know nutritional value of what meals are being sold or eaten by the kids? And can this system help us comply with whatever requirements we have?
We do, yes.
Along with information, a receipt, every time a student purchases lunch, a receipt goes out to the parent via email. And I'm gonna correct Andrea here, it's not an application, so it's not something that you have to, download onto your smartphone. It's actually a website that adjusts to your screen. So you can use it on tablet, or you can do it on tablet, on the smartphone, and it will just adjust. It's very easy to.
What did you guys do before this?
Swabberly worked for over 15 years for trading firms in Chicago, for Chicago Mercantile Exchange, Options Clearing Corporation, Citadel.
You're quite experienced in software.
Very experienced.
That's what I'm getting at.
But architecting, financial systems.
Yeah.
So that are very secure and can perform a lot of transactions very fast. That's why we love computers, because you can imagine like a stampede of students trying to, check out and buy things. You need to be really fast in order to process them, because they have very little time sitting. So we're really good with that.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, so Andrea, we can bring this back in the next board meeting. Thank you. All right, now the TIF update.
Yes.
Andrea.
I'm just gonna keep standing.
Yeah.
Okay, so just to inform you as to what is going on, we've had numerous meetings with the city, and out of an existing TIF, we've been having negotiations and discussion with the city of DeKalb that we are ready to develop an intergovernmental agreement, and what would be available for us to access and afford us the opportunity to take care of 2 facilities that we have identified within the TIF, which would be Founders Elementary School and Clinton Rosette Middle School. We would receive $2 million over the next 2 fiscal years. Now, what we are in the middle of working with our legal counsel, as well as the city and their legal counsel, is a submission of facility types of improvements, which actually we've discussed a lot of these at FFAC, which has been on our waiting list. We just don't have the money to do those. So we are submitting those to the city for their review, and then that will go through a process with them and the trustees. And hopefully within the next month, we would like to have an agreement. And then those doors would be open for us to do those projects. So our estimation, as we've talked with Tammy, would be, our earliest would be the next summer to start some of those. And they would actually, the allocation would be about $1.5 million for fiscal year 2016 to invest in our facilities, and then $500,000 in 2017 to finish that off. We just want to get language in there that we have an opportunity to kind of shuffle that and extend that year, because we never really can start these projects until the end of the school year, which then ends up being the end of the fiscal year. So we want language for like a carryover period in there. So just to inform you that that's being worked on. Okay.
Andrea, did we ever get an answer back, I think it was from FFAC, on whether or not TIF can be used for training for the district? Any employees, staff, whatever?
No, we cannot.
Cannot.
This is merely for facility investment improvements, and even limited to somewhat a scope of what that may look like. We actually submitted to them about $4 million worth of projects so that they can look at a menu of projects and select which ones they believe really qualify under that. Big ones are air conditioning, HVAC, lighting, and expansion of parking lots would be our priorities.
Any other questions for Andrea? Thank you. Okay. Next up, we have non-business consent agenda.
I move to amend the agenda to remove item number 6C, approval of salary placement advancement until the next meeting.
Do you have a motion? So moved. Second? Roll call, please.
Carrie Millette,
Yes.
Victoria Newport,
Yes.
Smith,
Yes.
Howard Solomon,
Yes.
Vicky Hernan Faber,
Yes.
Mary Hess.
Yes. And then I move to amend the agenda to remove remove 6E, approval of settlement agreement with Dr. Sherry Jones from the non-business consent agenda for a separate vote tonight.
Have a motion?
So moved.
Roll call, please.
Howard Solomon,
Yes.
Vicky Hernan Faber,
Yes.
Mary Hess,
Yes.
Carrie Millette,
Yes.
Victoria Newport,
Yes.
Rick Smith.
Yes.
And now we actually have to have the vote. We just moved. Right, this one was the first one, so. So approval of settlement agreement with Dr. Sherry Jones, that the Board of Education approve the attached settlement agreement with Dr. Sherry Jones. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second. Okay, roll call, please.
Mary Hess,
Yes.
Carrie Millette,
Yes.
Victoria Newport,
Yes.
Rick Smith,
Yes.
Howard Solomon,
Yes.
Vicky Hernan Faber,
Yes.
Okay. Next up is was the non-business consent agenda, the remaining items. That the Board of Education approve the non-business consent agenda items A through F. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second. Roll call, please.
Vicky Hernan Faber,
Yes.
Mary Hess,
Yes.
Carrie Millette,
Yes.
Victoria Newport,
Yes.
Rick Smith,
Yes.
Howard Solomon.
Yes.
And with that approval, we have now just hired a new athletic director, and Tamara Gover is going to introduce him.
Okay. It's my pleasure to introduce our new athletic director. As you may know, our athletic director, Tom Kim, is going to be the principal at Huntley Middle School. So our new athletic director is Mr. Nick Kierfit. I'll just speak a little bit, and if you want to just tell a little more about yourself. Nick has been the only AD at Woodstock North High School. He opened the school and started the program, athletic and activity program from the ground up. And he also has some ag background. So if you want to just share a little more about yourself, then.
Thank you very much. I grew up in Central Illinois, was ag education as an undergrad, taught for about a year and a quarter, got into the administrative side, has been in my career of administration in 11 years. I've been the dean of students, an assistant principal, a principal, and athletic director. So the last 7 years I've been the AD at Woodstock North. I'm married. We have three little boys, soon to be 10, soon to be 7, and 4 years old. We're very excited about the position. Actually, I met with Mr. Kim today. Started some of the transition, preparing for some of the transition stuff, and excited to get on board and get in the office and start meeting with coaches and kids and community members and so forth. So looking forward to it.
Well, welcome, and we're excited to have you with the district. So
Thank you.
Next, we have the business and finance section. Approval of phase 4 copier replacement. And this is an action item that the Board of Education approved the purchase of 6 copiers for a total cost of $75,741 from R.K. Dixon, and this is a,
Right. So, back in 2013, we rolled out a plan, and, so we're in the final phase of that plan. And what we've done is moved over different product lines. So we are now replacing our copiers with a Xerox brand copier. In all of this, we've also reshuffled many copiers around to fit actually the usage in certain areas. So in this final phase, actually, we scaled this back. And in doing that, the rationale behind it is because of the introduction of the one-to-one devices. What we anticipate and we hope, and I think will be encouraged, is that the copiers will have less demand on them. And we are looking at then incorporating scanners into our buildings that will supplement a copier and lessen the expense of all of that. So when first proposed, we examined that and then we looked at the usage, and so there will be some copiers that will be moved around. But that being said, right now, I think we're all comfortable, and I meet with technology to examine all of this. And although I know Ben doesn't like to be known as the copier guy, he is. And that is an individual most people go to. And so we really have gone through an examination period with R.K. Dixon, and based on recommendations and our experience and what we've seen, we scaled it back so that we are looking to actually purchase the lesser of this and actually go with, instead of replacing all of them, keep some existing ones, perhaps repurpose some into scanners in the future. But that being said, we have built into our budget $124,000 as a line item expense for copiers. But we're looking for your approval of spending about $76,000. And the reason why I'm sorry that we needed actions in front of this, there is only one meeting in July, and we need to order these to have them here on time. And we couldn't wait until that July meeting for that because they need approval to put this in.
questions for Andrea?
Just a comment, it's nice to see the cost savings happening all, we're seeing it already because
Yes.
one-to-one.
So I guess our question also to you is, as we are knee deep in budget season, is do you want to see the difference in what we budgeted left in the budget as a cushion, part of it removed, or the whole difference of the $50,000? Do we split it, leave about $25,000 in the budget just in case we have to add, or whatever your desire is?
Thank you.
Okay, so I was thinking about the cost of these scanners, or not scanners, printers. They're quite expensive, but they're commercial office printers, high volume and so on, right? But I was thinking about our one-to-one and individual devices. And golly, I mean, the printers I have at home, maybe 2 or 3 of them, they're $50 to $100 a piece. It's the ink that kills them.
Yes.
The printer is essentially free, and then you pay for everything in the ink, it seems. But how will this mix go? I mean, you mentioned scanners. Do we have any idea, tech guys or the tech community and so on? Have they thought about this? Is there going to be a change in how it all
We
works?
actually monitored, Ben ran a report, and at the end of April, I think it was, there had been 12,486,500 copies made. About. That comes out to almost 4.5 rings per student. So that is why, once we talk about scanning, we're talking about keeping data electronically, not in paper. So that's something we're monitoring forward. And in addition to just the number of copies we will no longer need to go into scanners, we will also continue to monitor actual paper purchase. And by the way, that 12,486,000, that's a little under 40 pallets of paper.
And we have no idea. Just to rank where it goes, I suppose.
Yeah, Mary's house.
So Andrea you did ask for an opinion on what to do with the
Yes.
business, right? And my thought would be to split it.
So, if I may, so Andrew, do we know that the printers that you're requesting us to spend money for now these will be for sure used in the offices where they'll be stationed, regardless of what happens with one-to-one or anything
Right.
new. Okay.
Yeah, they looked at actually the high volume areas, and in fact, I think we've made a selection to put one in a different location than where it is, and it's more centrally located. So where there will be a void and where we had some before, this will be an easier access point for people to do their copy.
And just for clarification, copiers, not printers.
Both.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Right, so,
Yeah, thank you.
okay, because I'm,
Actually, we've made an initiative to try and remove as many printers as we can,
Single
because
print
you're exactly right, it's the print cartridges, the ink, that costs the money, not the copy. So yes, these, and actually in examining the volumes, these are suited for the volume that we're doing in each of those areas.
So on Vicky's suggestion on splitting it between the 2 years, do I have a consensus from the board to give Andrea that direction?
This is as for preparing the budget for next year.
Yes.
We want to leave some money.
Yes. Okay. Okay. All right.
Thank you.
Okay. We have, no, I apologize, I did not get the motion in a second, so I'm going to reread the recommendation. That the Board of Education approve business consent, sorry, I didn't flip the page. That the Board of Education approve the purchase of 6 copiers for a total cost of $75,741 from R.K. Dixon. Do I have a motion?
So moved. Second.
Roll call, please.
Rick Smith,
Yes.
Howard Solomon,
Yes.
Vicky Hern in favor,
Yes.
Mary Hess,
Yes.
Terry Malat,
Yes.
Victoria Newport.
Yes. Okay, next is the business consent agenda. That the Board of Education approve a business consent agenda items A through D. Do I have a motion?
so moved.
Second.
Any discussion? Okay, roll call, please.
Terry Malat,
Yes.
Victoria Newport,
Yes.
Rick Smith,
No.
Howard Solomon,
Yes.
Vicky Hern in favor,
Yes.
Mary Hess.
Yes.
Okay. New business administration, a recommendation revisions to Board of Education policies, first reading. And this is an informational item.
Yes.
So the Board of Education will hold a first reading of recommended changes to Board of Education policies as attached. Any discussion?
So as I look at these 3 documents here, I mean, how do I, the proposed changes, is that going to take effect? Or actually, when would that be?
When the board, there's usually 2 readings and then the board approves to be effective the date on which they approve it.
Okay.
And these come to us from the Illinois State Board of Education. And they show you the strike through, they show you what the language was, and the highlight.
Proposing what it should be. Okay. So most likely we'll see the final draft.
Actually, we can probably see the same document again for a second reading, and we present the discussions of concerns, because we don't have to follow this. It means there's a change of language that this particular board wants. That's under the board.
Otherwise, we'll just adopt.
Correct.
Any other questions?
And kind of, and once it's adopted, we have it, it's automatically updated on our master board manual that's on the website.
Is this done every year?
It's done, they come out all the time.
Oh,
Yes,
quickly.
yes.
Any other thing? Any questions on that? Okay. All right, the meeting will be adjourned. Do I have a motion? So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All right.